Okay, we are picking up on Gimel Mabez, the last two words on the line. We're going through a series of mini Gemaras that Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi had said. So the Gemara says, remember Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi turning to Dalet Amud Aleph. Lod, Ono, V'gei HaCharashim, Mukaf Aschama Yemos Yeshua ben Nun Havu. These three cities, which were located in which were cities that were located in Binyamin. So they were cities that were, even though the walls that they had at the time that the Gemara is writing, even that he's saying this, that the walls looked new, but he says that the walls were actually originally around from the times of Rabbi Yeshua from Yeshua ben Nun. So the Gemara asks, "V'hani Yeshua ben Nun? Are you going to say that Yeshua ben Nun built these walls? V'Elpal ben Nahagi." It was Elpal that was the one that built them. The Chsiv, it says in the pasuk, "Uvnei Elpal Aver Umisham Vashamed Hu Bana Es Ono Veslod Uvnosel," and it says that he was the one that built these cities. So how could he say that Yeshua ben Nun built them? So the Gemara, and by the way, the reason why it matters who built them was because, again, if they were walled in the times of Yeshua ben Nun, so they would be reading the Megillah on the 15th of Adar, not the 14th. So the Gemara answers. The Gemara asks, and according to you, Asa ben Ani, are you going to say that Asa was the one that built them? Asa, sorry, Yehuda. So it's Amar Rav Lazar. Yeshua ben Nun havu. They really were surrounded from the times of Yeshua ben Nun. And then the story of the Pilagish Begiva happened. The story with the Pilagish Begiva was a story that happened where they surrounded. There was a man that had his Pilagish, his concubine, had gone back to her father, and it's not the husband's not the right word. What's the right word for someone that had a concubine? Her suitor, her what? I don't know. Anyway, he went after her, and he convinced her to come back with him to his house. And they were staying in the city in Giva, which was in Binyamin, and they were not hospitable to them. There was an old man that took them in, and then the city people came. They wanted to have relations with the man, and they apparently they sent this concubine. She was sent out, and the next morning the man came out. And they found that she was dead by the steps, and he took her back and he cut her up into 12 pieces. And he sent out her body to all of the Shvatim in Eretz Yisrael to say, look what happened in the city of Binyamin. And there was a civil war that took place. And most of Binyamin was actually wiped out at that time. So what happened? So it says that, so at the time, they were destroyed at the time of the story of Pilagish Begiva. V'asa Elpal Benahi, and then he came and he rebuilt them. Hadar impuled, and the walls fell again. They were destroyed. Asa Shabtzinu, and then he came and he rebuilt them again. So you see, so that shows you that really the walls were around from Yeshua ben Nun. They were destroyed, rebuilt, destroyed again, and then rebuilt. Take a name, and I'll show you proof that these walls were really around from before. Because it says in the pasuk for Yermel Yehuda, Nivna es ha'arim ha'ela, they said, let us build these cities. It didn't say, let us build a place here and then we'll call it a city. It said, let us build these cities, meaning that we were rebuilding the things that were already there. So therefore, you see that they were already around from Yeshua ben Nun, and they read on the 15th. Remember, Yeshua ben Levi, another teaching. Nashim chayavos b'mikra Megillah, she'af heim hayabos anes. That women are also obligated in Mikra Megillah because they were also in the Nes. So it's Machlokas, Rashi, and Tosfos. What does it mean that they were also in Osa Nes? According to Rashi says that the reason why, Rashi says, she'af al nashim gazer haman lahashmin laharugal abed minar vad zakein taf nashim. Because Haman decreed that everyone should be wiped out. Men, women, children, everyone's supposed to be killed. So since they were also saved with the story of Purim, so they also are obligated to have Mikra Megillah. So Tosfos says that the reason why, what does it mean, she'af hayu osam b'osam hanes? It means that the women were the impetus for the miracle taking place. Everything happened from Hashem, but Hashem did it through Esther. So since the miracle took place through Esther, so they're also obligated to celebrate the miracle of Purim that took place. Remember, you have Yeshua ben Levi, another teaching. Purim shechal yos b'Shabbos. You have Purim that falls on Shabbos, which the Gemara is going to explain later. So you don't read the Megillah on Shabbos. Why? Because we're afraid that people are going to carry the Megillah in order to, let's say they're going to be going to shul and they want to carry the Megillah with them, or someone who's going to be reading for everybody who's going to carry a Megillah with them and carry it outside in their Shus Rabbim. So therefore, when Shabbos falls out on Purim, which nowadays is not possible to happen because we have a set calendar, but in the days when they had witnesses, we discussed that they could have Shabbos fall out on that Purim could fall out on Shabbos. So when that happens, Shalom v'dar. So Purim shechal lios v'Shabbos. Even though we're not reading the Megillah on Shabbos, right? We either read it on Friday or on Thursday, but still Shalom v'darshin b'nyano shel yom. Nevertheless, still on Shabbos day when it's actually Purim, you still should be learning the things about Purim. So Gemara asks, "My area Purim. What's the chiddush? What's the big thing that you're telling us about Purim that you're supposed to do it? Afilu Yom Tif Nami. Any Yom Tif that applies to Tani. We learned in a brayso. Moshe Tiken Lehen LeYisrael. Sheishol and V'Darshim Minyano Shel Yom. Moshe was misakein that for Klal Yisrael that they're supposed to ask and they're supposed to learn about the halachos of the day. Hilchos Pesach b'Pesach, Hilchos Atzeres b'Atzeres, and Hilchos Chag b'Chag. You're supposed to learn the halachos of Pesach on Pesach. You're supposed to learn Shavuos on Shavuos and Sukkos on Sukkos. So what's the big deal that you're telling me that you're supposed to learn the halachos of Purim when Purim falls out on Shabbos? It's just like any other Yom Tif. So when it answers Purim mitzvah chalei, you need to tell it for Purim is different because now the same nigzer mishum derabba that we should be afraid because of the reason that we just said that Rab is going to say later that the reason why you don't read the Megillah on Purim is because the reason why you don't read the Megillah on Shabbos is because we're afraid you're going to carry the Megillah. So by the same token, we might say you should not be learning the halachos of Purim either on Shabbos because we're afraid that people are going to carry Svarim to go learn, where they're going to have these public discourses to talk about the halachos of Purim. We're afraid that people are going to carry their Svarim or they're going to carry the Megillah because they want to learn from them also. So you might think that you should not learn the halachos of Purim when it falls on Shabbos. Kamash Mulan, so therefore it's telling us that you should. Yes.
I'm going to say if they had an Erev.
So first of all, we're spoiled rotten, okay? Because we all, again, I think we all grew up in cities that had an Erev, except maybe not in Frederick. No, Frederick didn't have the Erev. Yeah, but I'm saying like when I was growing up, when I was younger, there was no Erev in Cleveland. I mean, it came about afterwards. But nowadays, everyone has an Erev. Back then, I don't think anyone had an Erev. It was
saying back then they didn't. Maybe the halacha would be different.
Well, again, I mean, because you're not gonna change the halacha just because one city has an Erev. You're going to do low plug. You're going to say they would say the same halacha for everyone. But again, growing up, you're younger then. Have you ever had? Where? Oh, you grew up without an Erev. Oh, yeah, so I mean, there's a city somewhere. I don't know. There's one city somewhere that every year, once a year, they take the Erev down, or they say that the Erev is not kosher, so people can get used to the idea still of knowing what. I'm serious. So that they shouldn't forget the concept. Like we take it for granted, but yeah. Okay. Anyway, so therefore, so Rabbi Shua ben Levi is teaching us that even when Purim falls out on Shabbos, you could still learn. Not only could you should learn the halachos of Purim on Shabbos. Next Gemara, Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Chaim Adam likros es Megillah b'layla u'lishnosa b'yom. A person is obligated to read the Megillah at night of Purim, and then he is supposed to read it again the next day. Shnamar, it says in the pasuk, which is talking about a parak in Tehillim, that's referring to Esther, Elokai, Ekra, Yomam, Lo Sana, V'layla, V'lo Dumili. That he says that Hashem, I called out by the day, and you did not answer, and by night, and there's no rest for me. So Sarim, so the people, the students who were hearing this saying that Rabbi Shua ben Levi, what he was saying, thought, the Mikre B'layla, you're supposed to read the Megillah at night, and what do you do in the day? And you learn the Mishnayos that is related. You learn Masechtas Megillah, the Mishnayos that are related to Megillah on Shabbos morning. So because the wording of what is it? Because Ulishnosa is the same word as Mishnah. So they thought that maybe that's what it meant. Not that you're supposed to read the Megillah twice, but you're supposed to learn the Mishnah Purim morning. So Rabbi Yirmiyah said, I learned from Rabbi Chia Barabba that it meant that you're supposed to repeat the Megillah. Not that you're supposed to learn the Mishnayos, but you say the Megillah at night, and you say the Megillah the next day also. You go into Army Inchi, like people say, Evor Parshata da Asnanya. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to learn something, and then we're going to go ahead and repeat it again. So same thing that they would read the Megillah at night, and then they would read it again the next day. And actually, halacha l'maisa, the halacha is that the reading that we do during the day, even though like we say that when you say Shachiyanu, we say Shachiyanu both at night and during the day. And they announced during the daytime that people should also have in mind for the Sudas Purim and Matanos Avyonim, for Shalach Manos, and they told the sometimes they tell the Baal Kori that he should wear a new suit or something so that he can make a Shechiyanu. The main reading is really during the day, and the nighttime, in some ways, again, it's a chiyuv that you have to do it, but some say that the reading at night is to prepare you to be able to do it during the day. Because I think that they also discussed that when we talk about this whole idea of the villagers, that they would go back to the Yom HaKnisa, that they would sometimes go back earlier than the 14th. What did they do? Let's say again, if they're reading on, if Monday was Purim, so we say that they can do it on if if Purim was on Friday, let's say, so we said that they go back and they would do it on Thursday. So what would they do Wednesday night? So some say that they wouldn't read the Megillah Wednesday night. They would just do it during the day because the day reading is the main reading. Another place that we learn out that you're supposed to do it at night and in the day. A person has to read the Megillah at night, Lushnos Yom, to repeat it again during the day. Shenemar, that the Mizmor Shir that we say before Baruch Sham, before Psukei Zimra, so that's in reference to the miracle that's talking about the miracles that took place on Purim, and it says Lamani Zamercha Chavod, in order that I should sing out praises to you. So that's talking about one of the readings you're supposed to take. V'lo Yudom, and I should not be silent. That's the second one, that I should also be continuing to give praises. Next Gemara, so next Gemara, the Mishnah said, we said that the people who live in the villages are able to go earlier depending on what day Purim falls out. So Gemara says, Amrav Chanina, Chachamim hikilu ala kvarim liyos maktim liyam maknisa. The Chachamim were lenient that for the villagers that were coming in from outside, that they were able to go back to the Yom HaKnisa, which we said again is either Monday or Thursday, because that was when Bezdin would be meeting, or because they didn't have anyone that could lane in the villages, so they come to the city to lane. And what's the reason why we let them go earlier? So that they're going to be able to bring the food and the drink to the villagers, to the city people who are not going to have food, so they would get the food from the farmers who are living in the villages. So in order that they should be able to do that, they would allow them to go back, and they would go back to the Yom HaKnisa. Turning to Amud Beis, we're just going to go a couple lines down. So Gemara says, "L'meimra the takanta the krachen haver." You're going to say that the reason why we said that the people are able to go back, the villagers can go back to the Yom HaKnisa, is to benefit the city people. We learned in the Mishnah, Chalios b'sheni. If let's say the 14th of Adar falls out on Monday, so kfarim v'arayos gedolos karam b'yom. So we said that the villages, and the cities would read on Monday the 14th, and the walled cities would read on the Tuesday. V'im isa. Now, if you're saying that the reason why we allow them to go to the Yom HaKnisa is because they're going to be so that they can go bring food and drink to the cities on Purim, so let them go back. If Purim falls out on Monday, the 14th is on Monday. Let them go back to the previous Thursday, the previous Yom HaKnisa, and then they'll be able to bring food and drink to the city for Monday when the city was celebrating Purim. So it must be that. So why don't we let them do that? So our answer is Havlu Asar, because if you do that, if the 14th falls out on Thursday, so it turns out if they will go back to the previous Thursday, what's the Hebrew date? That's the 10th. And the Mishnah said we can only go from the 11th to the 16th. You can't go any later than that. So therefore, to the 15th. I'm sorry. So therefore, that was the last that they'd be able to do it. So the Gemara asked, Tashma, I'll bring you another proof. If let's say the 14th falls out on Thursday, so so again, the villagers and the city, they both read on the Thursday, which is the 14th. And if you're saying that the reason why we let them go to Yom HaKnisa is because they're going to bring food and drink to the cities, so Liktamuli Yom HaKnisa, let them go from Thursday to the previous Monday. If they do that, what's that going to be? Da'achad Asaru. That's the 11th. And the Mishnah said that you could go back to the 11th. So why don't we let them go back to the 11th, to that Yom HaKnisa, and then they can bring the food and drink to the people in the city who are celebrating Purim on Thursday. So Gemara says, no, Yom HaKnisa, Yom HaKnisa, lo duchinan, we don't allow you to jump from one Yom HaKnisa, from Thursday back to Monday, because of the fear that we had before. Because then if you go from Monday to the previous Thursday, that would possibly be the 10th, and you're not able to lay the Megillah on the 10th. Gemara says the last proof, and then we'll stop with this. Tashma Amr Yehuda Amosai. When do we say that they're able to read earlier than that the villagers could read earlier than the 14th? Only if they normally would come into the big cities on Monday and Thursday. So then we say that they can go back. They can go back to the Yom HaKnisa because we don't want to make them schlep in. If Purim falls out on Sunday, they would come in on Sunday. Then they'd have to come back again on Monday for Megillah laning. So we say no. We let them go back to the Yom HaKnisa. So but if let's say they never came in on Monday and Thursday, because let's say either they had their own Bezdin in the village, or let's say they had someone that was able to lane in the village, so they didn't need to come into the big city. So, Ein Karnosa Elabismanda, then you're only able to lane on the day that Purim falls out, whatever date it falls out. And if you're going to tell me that the reason why we say that the villagers are able to go back to the Yom HaKnisa is to benefit the people that live in the city, are you going to say that because they don't normally come into the cities, so you're going to say therefore the city people are going to lose out, that they're not going to have the food and drink by letting them by letting the villagers preempt Purim for instead of the 14th to go to the Yom HaKnisa? So the Gemara answers, no. Lo tema. Don't say that the reason why we let them go back to the Yom HaKnisa is so that they will be able to provide food and drink for the people on the 14th. We should say, it's because they provided water and food throughout the year. Throughout the year, they would always bring food and drink, and when they would be coming into the city, they would bring food and drink into the cities in order to be able to give them the food that they needed. So as a reward, the Chachamim said, we're not going to make you schlep in on Purim when it falls out on the Yom HaKnit, when it falls out on a day that's inconvenient, we'll let you go back as far as the 11th. Okay, we will stop here, and we'll pick up again tomorrow night at 9:10.